Welcome to Llama Learnings Plus with me, the Zama Llama. Today we're going to be talking about using the Windows Community Toolkit. So why don't you follow along and let's get started. Welcome to the Windows Community Toolkit sample app. This app demonstrates a whole bunch of the helpers, extensions, custom controls that we have in the Windows Community Toolkit that will help you build UWP and .NET apps for Windows. You can find a link right here to the Microsoft Store where you can download the sample app and be able to find this wonderful playground, which we're going to walk through right now quickly. So you can use the menu above here to see all our different types of controls and animations, other helpers, brushes, extensions, all the various different things we have here to help you build great applications. One of our new features, which will help make your app a little bit more beautiful, is our shadows. So we call this one the attached card shadow. And we have a whole bunch of properties here, so you can just quickly change these colors here. If you want to adjust the shadow, you can see that dynamically update here. We can adjust other properties here like position of the shadow or its opacity and be able to see that change right here live with these properties. We can also go over to the XAML tab here and we can actually see the code that is driving this within to create this UI. And we can actually modify that live here in the sample app as well. So we can see these shadows now have more depth as we edit our value here. So there's definitely a lot more kind of just playing and experimenting you can do here within our sample app in order to kind of understand how this works and how it might be useful for your app, and then just be able to copy this into your application to get started, which we'll show you here in a little bit. There's a wide variety of different types of controls we have in the Windows Community Toolkit. So we have things like a range selector, which lets you kind of narrow down to specific values within some designated range. So of course you can play with the minimums and maximums and step frequency of how often these values should adjust. We have kind of novel, interesting controls that can be used in a variety of different circumstances, like the switch presenter kind of allows you to do a switch statement logic within your UI XAML code here. And so you can see I can present kind of different types of UIs here based on this selection and just kind of lay that out nicely here without having to kind of toggle a whole bunch of visibility properties and other things. It's kind of nicely organized based on a value that I can switch on, in this case, the combo box. We also have some fancy controls like our tokenizing text box and rich suggest box. These are pretty similar experiences, but provide a way to kind of, get metadata within a collection, selecting multiple items. So in this case, we might be thinking about tagging some properties on something we're working on, or selecting email addresses from our list and having that list of recipients. We can easily remove them here. The rich suggest box takes that a step further and allows us to kind of have free form text. So, hi there, everyone. And then you can kind of start mentioning people within your text just right in line here. This is a full text box. You can still use like emojis and other stuff, just like you would any other rich edit box. And then we have, even more full featured things like the data grid. So if you have very dense data, you can use that, as well as connecting to other services, for instance, the Microsoft Graph. So if you're, looking to do that email lookup, you can actually tie this in to your organization or your contacts list just by quickly having a sign-in button here. This is using some mock data, so it didn't prompt them pop up. But now I have access to start typing a name and finding people here that we can add to our email list here. Lots of layout panels, animations. There's a wide variety of things here. We have lots of kind of different fancy effects and behaviors that you can use to add some pizzazz to your apps. The brushes, for instance, are pretty powerful too. Even just, providing a mask for a text box so it can only accept certain values. Lots of little helpers and things. Usually a good rule of thumb is to check the toolkit for something that you're looking for, because chances are we have a lot of different exciting things like, eyedropper control. Need to pick a value from an image. Here you go. A whole bunch of different things to get you started. We have lots of variety of different layout options and panels. So these are good ones that usually get picked up a lot. So, wrap panel, uniform grid, staggered panel, expander. We have a whole different bunch of these experiences here that are easy to kind of get going with and drop into your app. So for instance, like a list details view, right, where you have, let's say a list of emails here in this example, right, and you want to show the detail when you click on one. And it's pretty simple just to drop these in, connect them to your data source, and get going within your app. And so that's what we're going to dive into next. We're going to show you how you can copy this example from the sample app and hook it into your app and get started. So let's head over there. All right, here we are in Visual Studio. I've selected UWP and a blank App Universal Windows project. We'll go to the next step. Call this My First Toolkit and hit Create. And so it's going to ask us about our minimum and target versions. The toolkit's minimum is 1809, so we're going to select that. Click OK. Wait for Visual Studio to create our project here. Now that Visual Studio has created our project, we're going to right-click on our project and go to Manage Nuget Packages. And we're going to want to browse for a new package. We can type in the name of our control here, List Details View. For most of our bigger controls, we have those in the package names. Otherwise, you can just search for Microsoft.toolkit and find most of our packages that way. You can see it's listed down here in the description. That's how we were able to find it. I'm going to click Install. The latest stable package here, 7.1, is what we have currently. It's going to tell us about dependencies that we're including. You can see also that we get the WinUI package here as well, Microsoft.ui.xaml. And then it's going to tell us about our licenses. All of our code in the toolkit is open source on GitHub under the MIT license, so we will accept that here. And so now you can see we have the toolkit reference underneath our references here. We're going to open our app.xaml first, and we need to copy in a little bit of code here for WinUI. So if you're already using WinUI, you should already have this. This is the XAML controls resources. This is what gets us all the styles for the inbox controls from the platform in the WinUI package. So we will save that here. Then we can go to our main page and start using the toolkit. So now this is where we can go back to our sample app and we can copy in our list details view. So I'm just going to copy this example here and paste this in. So of course, it's going to give us some warnings here at first. First thing, it can't find list details view, so we're going to add our namespace. Luckily, the light bulb in Visual Studio here makes it pretty easy for us to do that. And we want to change a couple of other things. We have a theme resource here, which isn't part of our app, so we'll just change this to be, light blue. And so we might have a few cases in the samples where we have these types of things. We should probably make it a little bit easier. Of course, since we are open source on GitHub, you can go to this link here, open up an issue, and let us know that we should make improvements or even work and contribute an adjustment to the sample itself. We want to make these as easy as possible to use. We have another control from the toolkit that we're using here. Let's just, it shows an image. We'll just change this over to an ellipse itself. We'll also make this a different color. I think I used light blue up above. And this doesn't have a corner radius. And then we also want to make sure we are going to use Xbind here to gain a little bit of performance improvement. We use binding for the live editing in the sample app, but we can use Xbind here. Of course, now we're told, because this is trying to do it at compile time, that emails doesn't exist. And so that's where we need to go to our code tab. Here in the sample, you can see here we're defining the list of emails, and we have an email class. And so we want to go to our code behind now, and we can add this into our code here to see how this example works in our own project. I'm going to define this as an observable collection of email. That way it'll make it a little bit easier if we want to extend or add things to this as we build up our app in the future. And we'll use our light bulb here to get the namespace for that. Of course, we're missing our email class as well. So we will copy this in here now. Now we have our list of emails and observable collection in a email class here. And if we go back to our main page, now we can see our binding is resolved. And we should be able to run this. So let's see what happens. All right, and here's our app running. And so if we click on one of these emails, we'll see we have the template driving our details, and now this is in our app. It's that simple. So we hope that you want to use the Windows Community Toolkit within your app. We have a lot of great things and features for you to use, and we hope that this tutorial has been useful for you.